So the Lindsay Clancy case is ongoing, and I need you guys to lock in because I'm going to tell you everything that's happening all the way from 2023 down till now, the trial as of August 7th, so lock in, pay attention. First of all, you need to understand that on that day, Patrick was like, you know what, babe, I'm going to go and get those things you said you wanted out in the market. And she was like, yeah, sure, of course. Why don't you follow this route I have planned on the map? Yeah, follow it. And she handed it over to him and he took it. This part is very important. Note, she gave him the map. And so he drove, went out, got the things, and like 20, 23 minutes, 30 minutes later, he came back only for him to notice something peculiar. There was no noise at home. You see, just hours before he left, this brother remembered seeing his wife playing with his 3 children, in the snow. They were making snowmen and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, the house was quiet. Remember, this is a house with 3 children. The house is never quiet. At least, mostly never quiet. And so he walks in, and then he's like, babe, babe. And then he's calling his wife's name and also calling the name of the children. But nobody answers. And then he makes his way up the stairs all the way to his bedroom. And then he sees it on the ground, red, very red. And then he traces the drops all the way to the balcony and over. He looks down only to see his wife, throat with a scar, wrist all opened, and she was bleeding. And he asked, what is going on? What are you doing? What did you do? And she started crying. And he asked, where are the children? And she said, they're in the basement. Immediately, he rushed over to the basement. And what he saw the moment he opened his door will forever scar Patrick, because his children were looking back at him, but their eyes were not blinking. There was a scar around their neck. They had been with an exercise band. It was an unfortunate tragedy. Patrick screamed his lungs out in agony. And by the time the police came and they were trying to comfort him, he just kept on saying how she had done it. She had done it. She had ended his family. You see, Lindsay Clancy is a 35-year-old woman. The question is not whether she did it or she did not do it. We already know that she did it. The question is she guilty for it? And that is what is happening in the trial right now, to prove if she should be punished for what she did. So I need you guys to lock in for this, because the prosecutor is like, yo, she mapped out the route. Remember, I told you guys, she mapped out the route before she gave it to her husband, meaning she was already planning what she would do. She wanted him to take his time. You understand? That way, by the time he was back, her and the kids would have been... Do you get what I'm saying? However, the defense was like, wait. But she's suffering from postpartum issues. She has had an history of postpartum issues from her first, second, and now the 3rd child. So she was not in her right senses when she did it. She was depressed. She had mental issues and all that kind of stuff. But the prosecutor was like, no, she didn't. Yeah, she didn't. Because between September 2022 and 2023, she was prescribed medication for her issues. So the prosecutors are like, yeah, she was prescribed medications and she was sane when she did this thing. But the defense was like, no, wait. You guys are missing something important. You see, she was not only suffering from postpartum depression, she was also bipolar. And the judge was like, wait, she's bipolar? The audience was like, oh, she's bipolar? Everybody was like, wait, nobody ever knew she was bipolar. Yeah, the defense brought out evidence to state that she was bipolar. And by the time she was giving these drugs, you see, the drugs for her postpartum depression, they had interfered with her bipolar disorder, because you're supposed to give the patient depressants but also mood stabilizers. If not, she was going to spiral out of control. But the prosecutor was like, wait, hold on defense, you guys are forgetting something. You see, we have evidence stating that Lindsay had told Patrick that, yo, I'm having intrusive thoughts, there are voices in my head, and I feel like I want to do things to my children. And Patrick was like, you know what, babe, I see you and I understand. How about we go to the hospital for this thing? And so he took her to the hospital. She was not only medicated, but she was also discharged. And Patrick had asked her, yo, do you feel better? And Lizzie was like, yeah, I feel better. I no longer feel like, those intrusive thoughts that were coming, they're no longer there. Only for 13 days later, all 3 children. So do you see the prosecutor's arguments now? But the defense still argued back. They were like, yeah, exactly. You see, that time she was given medications by 3 different, 3 different medical providers, that kind of thing. 3 different people, they're giving them medications back and forth. Yeah, those things affected her. And the prosecutors are like, you know what, how about we call our first witness to the stand? And our witness is going to tell you what we're talking about. And the judge was like, you know what, I give permission. Yeah. And the first witness came up. It was a toxicologist. And we're like, yo, tell us exactly what was her blood work result, after you guys took her during the time, in 2023. Yeah, the blood work. What came out? And the toxicologist was like, yeah, according to the blood work, we tested her blood and discovered that there was not so much medication in her system, meaning it was very low. So what she did it while she was sane. And the court was like, what? She did it while she was sane? And everybody was like, what? But the defense were quick to ask. They were like, you know what? How about we call our own witness? And our witness will tell you how much Lindsay loved her children and how it was impossible for her to do this particular gruesome act if she was sane. And so they called her nanny to the stand, and the nanny came tearing up, crying, and she was like, you know what? I feel very emotional right now. I do not think Lindsay could have done something like this. It is impossible. You know, I cannot comprehend that kind of thing. However, the prosecutors were like, yo, hold on there. We also have another witness. How about we call the preschool teacher? And so the preschool teacher was called up. Now, remember, like I said, Lindsay had 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-month-old. So we're talking of course, preschool teacher for the 5 and the 3. And so the preschool teacher came up and they asked the questions. They were like, yo, tell us, what do you think? You saw Lindsay, you know, she would come and drop the kids off, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, was she sane? And the preschool teacher was like, yeah, she was sane. As far as I'm concerned, I did not see signs of insomnia or postpartum depression. She was smiling with them. She was good and all that. And the prosecutor was like, oh, didn't we tell you? Yeah, she knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing. And the defense was like, no. And the prosecutors were like, you know what? Why don't we call another, you know, witness to the stand? How about Sergeant Andrew? Yeah, you come up to the stand and come and tell us what is going on. And then Sergeant Andrew came with evidence stating that, yeah, she did not only plot the route, while Patrick was en route, yeah, she had sent him messages to make the journey longer. Yeah, you guys remember what I said at the beginning of this video? She planned this thing. She planned the route. When Patrick, her husband, was brought to the stand, Patrick was like, yeah, I don't think my wife could do something like this. I don't think it was her that did it. I think maybe, truly speaking, she was having mental issues as of the time. Meaning, even her husband is still on her side, regardless of whatsoever the rest of the internet is thinking or saying. So now, what we are trying to know is this. Was Lindsay sane or insane? And who is at fault for the children? Is it Lindsay, or has the medical system failed her? Now, I need you guys to subscribe and follow, because I'm following this trial bumper to bumper. I'm going to be giving you guys the full gist. So follow.